So it's a little bit different for us this weekend. It's amazing how fast things change. I honestly didn't think that there would be a mandatory mask order in Wisconsin. I guess I was wrong on that one. But I really didn't think we'd go this route, but here we are. And I think it's a minor thing for us. But I think there is a greater issue at work. And Jesus really gets to it at the heart of the gospel. In fact, I can't think of a more perfect gospel for this weekend than this one, where we see Jesus helping his disciples to understand that if we're going to be people of faith, we need to be people of people's basic needs as well. If we're truly going to be concerned about people's spirits, we need to be concerned about their body and soul as well. And we see how Jesus' disciples come to him and they say, dismiss these people. We got nothing to feed them. There's too many of them. Let them go into the towns and buy stuff to eat, basically saying they're not coming back. And Jesus quickly says, there is no need for them to go away. Why don't you guys feed them since you got all the answers? And this is what the disciples say, well, seriously? We only have 5 loaves and 2 fish because this person has that. And Jesus took them, broke them, blessed them, let the disciples distribute them, and there were more fragments than what they started with. And for each of us, when we truly follow God's orders, when we live by his blessing, isn't it amazing that there is more blessing always than what we put in? That there is more fruit than what we planted? And that God does so much more than any of us could possibly ever imagine. I know you guys have heard quite a bit, but we've been working pretty hard as a parish to help one of those great needs in our community right now, which is hunger. And it is a real need with the virus, with the quarantine, with so many other issues going on in people's lives. And so we've been working at having these food events. And as some of you have heard the story already, on Monday I called and found out that there was no food for us this week. We fed over 500 people last Thursday, a week ago Thursday. And now there's no food. I'm supposed to cancel it. So I got on the phone. I started calling in a bunch of favors. Luckily, I know people in town, and I know where all of our parishioners work, and I started calling in favors. And one thing led to another, and I ended up getting in touch with the food bank over in Eau Claire, Feed My People. Found out that they were very willing to help us, that they were very willing to send as much food as we wanted. I just had to get it here. Well, I'm very thankful that we have some very good Catholics who work at Badger State Trucking, and they ended up sending a special truck to Eau Claire to pick up 4 tons of food that we could distribute on Thursday afternoon. I'm very thankful to them for doing that. And I ended up being in Eau Claire most Friday, a good chunk of the day Friday, being trained and partnering with Feed My People. And now we'll be able to use their food bank every Thursday, every week. They're sending a dedicated truck over every week with as much food as we want. And luckily, most of the food is free. We served over 8,000 pounds of food this past Thursday. We fed around 500 individuals, and it cost us $80. And we'll keep doing that as long as we need to. And it's an amazing thing. I got to talk to a lot of people on Thursday, and I heard a lot about people's needs, a lot about their lives, a lot about what's going on, and those quick moments of exchange as we're loading the car up with boxes of food and giving little treats to the kids and seeing what's going on. And there is one thing that is really true. We need to rebuild our parishes. This coronavirus, while it seems like maybe it's getting stronger and now we're wearing masks, we need to start thinking about the resurrection. This is going to pass. This is going to end soon. And we need to be ready with a mission to get our parishes back to where we were and more. That at any time after suffering, there's always a resurrection. Now, fortunately, in Hispanic land in our diocese, I built up a number of communities from scratch. And I've come to see through many of the great builders of our faith, those who have built dioceses and built parishes, there seems to be a tripod that we need to live by, a 3-legged stool, if you will. That is good worship and devotion, faithfulness to the Eucharist, faithfulness to adoration. That is good catechesis to our kids and good sacramental preparation, and meeting the needs of the people in our community, being in touch with the poorest of the poor. You may recognize these last 4 years as I've been your pastor. This is exactly what we have done. We have rebuilt our catechetical program, back to the basics, testing, requirements that actually help our kids to learn the faith and to learn the basics of the faith. Put in a lot of effort in there. You may have noticed we have a lot more weddings, a lot more first communions, a lot more sacraments. We had 96 baptisms in our parish last year. A record. And why? Good sacramental prep. But now with this coronavirus, I believe we're getting that last leg, which is seeing what needs in our community we can address. And I believe that hunger, and not just hunger, but hunger is a start to really help and to really support these folks. Now, it's very easy for us who are very blessed, who have had lives that are organized and haven't known real hunger, to kind of wonder, how do people fall into this trap? What have they done wrong? How have they messed up? Maybe they're not being responsible. Maybe they're being lazy. Maybe this, maybe that. And it could very well be that a few of that came in the cars. That could be the story of their life. But I can tell you that most of the people coming, I know. And it's not that it's all Hispanic, not even close. There are many people you know who are coming to these, and those who are volunteered, you probably recognize the number of people driving through in their cars. And they come for a variety of reasons. There's a lot of people coming for food, because they have a number of kids, and they can't work as many hours as they used to be able to. People coming because of divorce. There's people coming because of domestic violence. There's people coming in the name of other families who can't come themselves because they're quarantined or other extenuating circumstances. We have a number of people who come to pick up from multiple families, including one of my good buds who comes to pick up for 8 families every week. And we just load up his minivan, let me tell you. You can actually see it a little bit in the back tire as we portion out 8 families worth of food. There's some families we help for a weekend worth of food. There's some people we help for 2 days. There's some families we try to help feed for 5 days. Depends on their need, it depends on where they're at in life. And that's why I think this personalized approach, this Catholic approach, is so important. But it needs to be a parish initiative. I was so happy to see almost 30 volunteers this last week. We kind of made an all-out. And to see so many people come and volunteer. Ellie's team inside, you guys seem to have so much fun. And time for people to be talking. I don't know what happened. They're coming outside this week so I can put them to work. But it was wonderful to see the camaraderie. And we had Tammy from Feed My People, one of the directors, and she came to kind of show us the rope, because usually it takes a couple of weeks to form a partnership. We did it in 12 hours because of the need and because of the crisis. And she was kind of telling us the ropes and the rules as we went. It was a delightful thing, and a couple of things we had to redo. It was really no big deal. But the one thing she noticed about our parish so quickly is how we're all family. She said it right away. She goes, "Father Tim, it's amazing. It's like you're all family. You're joking around like brothers and sisters. You all have such respect for one another. You all know each other so well. You have these little jokes, these little ways. Everyone knows each other's personality. Everyone knows how to work with one another." She noticed that right away. And I think it really is true as us as a parish that we are a family. But we're a family that is called to not be focused on ourselves, but on others. We're called to be in the adoption agency, if you will. We're called to fill our churches. We're called to do it through good, faithful liturgy and prayer and devotion, through good catechesis, and through meeting the needs of others. The good news about all of this is it's really not going to cost us much. Right now, while all the government programs are going, it'll take me a lot of effort to spend more than $100 for tons and tons and tons of food. It's going to be a challenge. Don't need to. Maybe as we get into the school year, it may cost a little bit more as the Farmers to Family program starts to end. But I talked with both grade school principals in town this week. I talked with the superintendent as well. And they tell me that they are very concerned about many of the families in our communities. Because with the kids only being in school 2 days a week, they have to send a lot of these kids who are in the reduced lunch program home with 3 bagged days worth of meals, breakfast and lunch. And it doesn't work. These poor kids, some of them, and I know some of these kids, that lunch is their main meal for the day. And no fault, we're not judging here, it's the way it is right now. And frankly, it's the way it was too. I mean, how many stories I've heard from more senior members in the parish where hunger was a real thing in the 20s and the 30s and the 40s in our community, and people just got by. People ate a lot of corn and a lot of flour and didn't have a lot of variety, drank a lot of milk, ate a lot of eggs. Well, these days we don't have that. We have these programs, we have the schools. Our economy's kind of changed from that agricultural to a different model. And I think we as a parish can really help supplement that. It's an amazing thing to think that a number of our volunteers were carrying 18-pound boxes of a variety of meats into these people's cars. That everyone got a gallon of milk, got a block of cheese, got 20 pounds of fresh produce, vegetables and fruit. The Hispanics got avocados and tortillas and beans. It's a beautiful thing to see. And the smile on those faces. One of my favorite things to do during these events, and I've got my friends now in the cars, and they know that I've got fruit snacks for the little kids donated by County Market every week. And there's a number of 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds. 2 of them were pounding on the back window of their car from the inside when they drove up, just pounding, waving at me. Why? Because they saw the fruit snacks in my hand already. And I reached in and handed them off, and this little hand comes up and grabs them, big smile. Thank you. There's a lot of fear out there. We can do a little bit, and we can help. So this is a bit radical. We may be the only parish in the diocese doing this. The only parish that's partnered with a food bank. It really wasn't a big deal. But I think it's something we need to do. And I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your help. Right now, it's about $100 a week to run one of these. If you feel that you have the means that you'd like to sponsor a week of food, I would be very, very grateful for that. That'd be a wonderful thing. And I will make sure you know what week you are sponsoring anonymously. Once we start getting into the world of maybe $500, $600 a week, I'm going to start asking local businesses to sponsor a week, and then we'll publicize who's sponsoring what. But I think this is very sustainable. It's quite wonderful that I ordered 3 tons of food this morning at 9 o'clock in the morning in my pajamas. I can do this every week. This is not that hard. A lot better than what we were doing the past 2 months. And I think for each of us, just to look and say, how is the Lord calling us to live by this Catholic tripod? How is He calling us to deeper faithfulness and devotion and liturgy in our lives? How is He calling us to be people who are catechized, learning about our faith and teaching the faith? And how is He calling us to reach out to some of those who are really in need in our parish? We have a lot of giftedness in this parish. We have a lot of ability. I think sometimes it just takes the project, it takes the focus, it takes the mission statement to know where we fit into this. But I think all of us can do a great variety of things to help out. There are many people who think these days that the Catholic Church is irrelevant. I read many op-eds in the papers in Wisconsin saying that the Catholic Church should be closed, that there should be no masses, this is too dangerous and whatnot. But I can tell you without a doubt that there has been no contact traced back to any of our parishes in the past 5 months by Marathon and Clark County, and I would know that if it was. It's not spreading in the churches. And I think for each of us to realize that the Catholic Church is relevant to everybody. But I think we need to show them. And we need to show them like Jesus shows us in our gospel reading. We need to be really ready to receive His blessing, to feed everybody, so that they can learn about the faith. Because you know what came after the feeding of the 5,000? It's when Jesus preached about the Eucharist and gave us the institution of the Eucharist, His lasting presence among us, the greatest gift we have in the church. But that came after the meal. That came after the disciples messed up. That came after Jesus collected 12 wicker baskets full of scraps. And I think for each of us, I can't think of any better preparation for me personally to celebrate Mass than to talk to a bunch of people in their cars and see how many boxes of food they need this week. I can't think of any better way to prepare my homily like I did this morning than after ordering food for all of them and thinking about all the ways that this may help our community and help our families. And how many people ate today the food that we gave out on Thursday. I think it's the most Catholic thing we can do these days. And I'm very open and excited to hear about your thoughts and your feelings about this as we continue to move through, because it is my great hope that we'll be doing this for a while until it's not needed anymore. And maybe, just maybe, it will bring a lot of people back to the church, a lot of people back to the Mass, to truly understand how precious the Eucharist is, because we felt they were precious enough to sacrifice a little time so that they could have food.